And there are also calls for a special counsel for the probe of the IRS over its targeting of conservative groups. Let's talk about it now with Didi Benke, a former aide to President George W. Bush and a GOP blogger. Democratic strategist Zerlina Maxwell joins us, a contributor to Ebony.com. Good to see you both. Didi, let me start with you. And let's talk first about the IRS scandal. Eric Holder announced a few days ago that he has launched a criminal investigation at the DOJ. But isn't Holder so compromised by his closeness to the president, not to mention his own scandals, that Holder's findings would be inherently suspect?
Yes, of course. It's a huge conflict of interest, Greg. And I think this is a good day to talk about this because, you know, veterans and those folks who died to ensure that we have our liberties and that we have our freedom, that's really what's being threatened here with the IRS as well as the justice scandal, because we have people that are being spied on. Poor James Rosen, this is one of the nicest guys and so much integrity. He and his parents both were targeted. And then talking about the IRS, when you're talking about punishing political enemies. Yeah. But, you know, it's one of the two. Is it that, or is it that the organization is so inept that they didn't know what their lower level staffers were doing? Right. One way or the other, we need to have an investigation.
Zerlina, unlike some other attorneys general, Michael McCasey, for example, who was a federal judge for 2 decades, he was never really involved in any politics. Eric Holder is the opposite. He is a political appointment. He's always been a partisan, active in the Democratic Party. In fact, he was an advisor to Obama when he first ran for president. So Holder has an obvious interest in protecting the Obama administration. How can his investigation of the IRS be impartial? Can it be trusted?
Well, are we going to trust the House Republicans with that investigation?
No.
And expect them to be impartial?
That's why I say, how about an independent counsel?
Well, I think, you know, we don't want the second coming of Ken Starr here. We have too many issues that are very serious that we need to talk about. But I think the IRS is getting blown up into this huge scandal when really what the issue is that this is a post-Citizens United world, and the IRS is getting 70,000+ applications a year.
You think the IRS thing is being blown up?
Yes.
Zerlina?
I think that,
Seriously?
you know, this is a post-Citizens United world, and the IRS is obviously on the middle management level trying to figure out
you don't know
the way
that.
Yes,
yeah,
I do.
we don't
I'm
know
talking
that.
about the facts. 70,000+
and
applications.
Ms. Lerner's taking the fifth now.
If this was a controversy,
So
they
when
wouldn't have denied
when I say
zero
you don't know that it's
applications for
just
these
middle
Tea Party
level,
groups.
Zerlina, I mean, it could go much higher up. It could have been an organized effort to target conservative groups.
Remember,
And
Watergate started that way.
But I think that the idea, calling for a special prosecutor means nothing else gets done in Washington. And that is not what we need right now.
But don't you think if Obama and the administration is innocent that they would want a special investigator? What are they afraid of? If they're innocent,
what are you
what's
afraid
the problem?
of? I mean, I'm old enough to remember the 1990s when introducing an independent investigation turns into a
Not
think you should
all
have
of them.
both.
Some of them have actually been
we don't
quite
want a
productive.
That's Congress's job to
Calling for an
protect as
independent
well as
counsel is a
independent.
pretense for impeaching the president
You
in
know,
his second
Zerlina,
term.
I have 2 words for you. Scooter Libby. That worked out pretty well in many fronts. Now, Didi,
no, he fell in his sword and no one else
on the other
involved went to
scandal, I
jail.
want to talk about the targeting of journalists, including Fox News. I mean, the president has decided that Holder is going to review Holder's own
crazy.
actions.
That's insane. How does that happen? He cannot review his and what I mean, he is the one who issued the warrant to investigate James Rosen, and as well as his parents being targeted. Why is mom and dad being targeted?
Zerlina,
this is ridiculous. He can't do it fairly. No way.
It kind of makes you wonder: has Valerie Jarrett, who guards access to the president in the Oval Office, surrounded him with so many sycophants that nobody actually had the courage to raise their hand and say, you know, Mr. President, it's kind of a dumb idea. People are going to laugh at you having Holder investigate Holder.
No, I think that the Justice Department is supposed to be independent from the White House, and Eric Holder certainly should not be the one in charge of the investigation, but certainly
so
the
that's what they're
agency
pushing,
as
the
a
appointment.
whole is supposed to operate in this manner. They're supposed to internally investigate and make sure that no wrongdoing happens in the future.
If a cop
Federal
commits
agencies
a crime, are you going to have the cop investigate himself, Zerlina?
No, but the internal affairs of the police
answered the
department
question.
can
Chicago,
investigate.
Holder's
There's
the
no
top
way he
cop
can
in
do it
America.
fairly.
That is
He's
ridiculous.
the attorney general.
Yes, but he's not going to be leading the investigation. The
Yes,
agency,
he is, because
the
it's-
agency is leading
Yes,
the
he-
investigation.
okay,
Just
but
like in
he's
the
the head
police
of the
department, you have
agency.
internal affairs.
He's the head-
investigating
Zerlina,
Hey,
he's
last
head of the
question for
agency. We
you.
need someone independent.
Didi, I got to get this in. Holder testified, as you know, before Congress He said, I've never been involved in a potential prosecution of the press. Well, now we know, and documents prove it apparently, that he personally okayed the warrant naming Rosen as a co-conspirator in a potential prosecution. On that basis alone, shouldn't Holder recuse himself from the so-called reviews? I mean, he may have misled Congress.
He's got to. I mean, there's no way that this can be fair since he's the one who issued the warrant. He's the head of the Justice Department. He is the key campaigner and confidant of President Obama. So there's no way that this can be fair. But I do think that Darrell Issa and the Congress should be involved as well as an independent prosecutor or investigator.
They're talking perjury up on the Hill. Didi Benke,
it started this way in
Zerlina
Watergate,
Maxwell.
too.
Good to see you both. Thank you
so much.
Happy
Have a good
Memorial Day.
holiday.